Hello, I'm Whitney Belker with Miami's Global Connection. Our show is designed to raise public awareness of the interdependent world in which we live. We focus on local leaders who are involved in diverse international issues and projects. Polls indicate that Americans are not well informed about international activities, many of which are occurring within our own local communities. The goal of our program is to change that by informing you of what's happening. The sponsor of our show is the Greater Miami chapter of the United Nations Association of the United States, otherwise known as the UNA. The UNA is a grassroots organization devoted to informing and educating the public about critical services provided by the United Nations while serving to make the UN more effective. It's really a big job. Today our guest is Dr. Allan Rosenbaum, whose distinguished career and commitment to international development initiatives has afforded him the opportunity to work in more than 60 countries around the world. For the past 7 years, Dr. Rosenbaum has served as Professor of Public Administration and Director of the Institute for Public Management and Community Services at Florida International University. Dr. Rosenbaum received a bachelor's in history from the University of Miami, a master's degree in higher education administration from Southern Illinois University, and a master's degree in political science and public administration from the University of California, Berkeley. Last but not least, he has a PhD in political science from the University of Chicago. I'm not sure what else you could possibly study. Additionally, he's the president of the International Association of Schools and Institutes of Administration, on the executive committee of the International Institute of Administrative Sciences, and many, many, many more.
And that's probably enough.
Dr. Rosenbaum, we're not sure when you sleep, but when you're not running around hosting all these different committees and teaching and running a department.
Well, one of the experiences that one gets from going on to doctoral work is you wind up spending a lot of time all night writing your dissertation, and so it gets you to a point where you don't really need a lot of sleep after that.
Wow, wow. Well, some of the things that we'd like to discuss today, I understand you have done a great deal of work with the United Nations and some research, so perhaps you can tell us and the viewers about some of the projects that you've had the opportunity to work on.
Sure. Well, that's been certainly among the highlights of my own personal academic career, and also in terms of satisfaction. I've had several different kinds of involvement with the United Nations. At the moment, I am co-chairing with a senior figure at the United Nations, Guido Bertucci, who is the director of the Division for Public Administration and Development Management at the UN. Together we are co-chairing a United Nations expert group on improving the quality of top-level government leadership around the world. I've also had the opportunity to chair the first annual United Nations Public Service Awards Committee for outstanding governmental agencies, chair the selection committee for that. And there are several other things, too.
Well, quite an accomplishment. Let's first start talking about the government leadership initiative.
Well, I'm sorry.
No. What exactly is that about?
Well, for a long time, people concerned with international development and the development, particularly of transitional countries, lesser economically developed countries, have tended to focus on concerns of economic development, investment, and the like. In the past decade, people have begun to realize, people who are concerned with these matters, that all of the economic wisdom in the world isn't going to make a tremendous amount of difference in a country if you don't have strong governmental leadership and strong governmental institutions.
I imagine that also encompasses the morale and the government ethics and the transparency issues that are a critical part of that.
All of those things are absolutely critical. I mean, one of the things that we have recognized or begun to recognize even more clearly in the last half dozen years is that the private sector alone cannot succeed and the government alone cannot succeed, and you need to have a vigorous governmental sector and a vigorous private sector if you're going to have serious economic development, especially in transitional countries. And that's led the UN to be concerned about the quality of governmental leadership in many transitional countries.
Now, are they working to promote the private-public partnership initiatives in these developing economies as well?
Well, certainly that. That's been really a major emphasis in international development activities for at least a decade now.
Right.
More recently, we've begun to work on this initiative dealing with governmental leadership, and we've had activities in Africa. We're about to do some things in Central and Eastern Europe, where we bring together top-level governmental leadership.
And what exactly might be an initiative that you would promote or teach to these government leaders? What kind of leadership techniques or characteristics are?
It's more, you don't really teach governmental leaders. Most governmental leaders have fairly strong egos and strong sense that they have gotten to where they are because they know a great deal.
No, you're kidding.
But I think what we try to do is bring together, particularly people at cabinet minister level, folks like that, to discuss what are some, and to share with them among themselves their own experiences in dealing with economic development issues, in dealing with issues of governmental integrity and transparency, in dealing with all of the kinds of issues that are a part of a globalizing world. And in a sense, they really share ideas with each other and learn from each other.
Right.
And hopefully we maybe are able to inject a few ideas and a few thoughts that are helpful.
And for those viewers who are not as familiar with the vocabulary of public administration, the work of Dr. Allan Rosenbaum is considered to be the groundwork, laying the foundation for the infrastructure for many of the emerging countries to grow, which then ultimately translates and allows these countries to work in other areas of development. But we'll hold those thoughts after this break, so thank you.
Songbirds we enjoy each summer, winter in the rainforests. Right now, many are losing their homes. The Arbor Day Foundation's Rainforest Rescue is making a difference. Go to arborday.org, see how to support rainforest rescue, and find out which trees to plant where you live, so our songbirds have a home in the summer and the winter too. Go to arborday.org now.
Over here! Did you know that the first person to fly faster than the speed of sound was Chuck Yeager back in 1947? No? I didn't think so.
It's fun to know history. Find curious facts from America's past at loc.gov, the Library of Congress website.
Hi, welcome back to Miami's Global Connection. I'm Whitney Belker. And we're continuing our conversations with Dr. Allan Rosenbaum from Florida International University. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about the experiences you are doing with the United Nations and the project on selecting outstanding candidates and
outstanding governmental innovations and governmental activities. Well, one of the things that, as we were saying before, increasingly the United Nations is recognizing that effective governance and effective governments are central to dealing with problems of poverty and underdevelopment. And in particular, there's been a lot of emphasis in the past few years, Secretary General Kofi Annan's effort to develop a millennium agenda for the United Nations to really try to deal with issues of poverty and inequality. And if one's going to try and improve